It was raining the day Michael Carter was buried. The skies above Willow Creek were gray and swollen, as if the heavens themselves mourned the man who had once been the heart of this quiet suburban neighborhood. His wife, Claire, stood by the casket, her black veil motionless in the breeze. Her expression unreadable. She hadn't cried. Not once. Not during the service. Not when the priest spoke of Michael's devoted heart and quiet generosity. Not even when they lowered the casket into the earth. People noticed. And one man, Ethan Walker, her next-door neighbor, noticed more than anyone. He stood at the back of the small crowd, his hands trembling inside the pockets of his trench coat. His gaze never left Claire. She hadn't looked at him all day. Not a glance. Not even a nod. It was as if they were strangers. But they weren't. Not even close. Michael had died in a horrific car crash only 5 days earlier. His vehicle had lost control on a winding road, flipped, and exploded into flames before first responders could reach him. The autopsy was quick, burned beyond recognition, no signs of foul play, at least not officially. Still, whispers swirled. The brakes had failed. Claire had inherited everything. And Ethan? He had started locking his doors at night. Not because of guilt, but because of fear. Because he knew the truth. At least, part of it. After the burial, while the others made their way to the church hall for food and condolences, Claire stayed behind, alone, silent, until Ethan walked up behind her. "You should go," she said, her voice calm, steady. Ethan didn't move. "Are you okay?" She turned her head slightly, just enough for him to see her eyes behind the veil. There was no grief there. No sadness. Just something else. Something colder. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "We said goodbye to him. Now we say goodbye to everything else." And then she walked away, heels tapping against the wet stone path, leaving Ethan staring after her, his chest tight, his mind racing, and one thought echoing louder than the rest. What if this was never just an accident? 6 months earlier, the Carters had just moved into Willow Creek, a quiet, picturesque suburb nestled among tree-lined streets and trimmed lawns. Michael, an up-and-coming financial advisor, had secured a new position with a prestigious firm in the city. And Claire had agreed to the move for a fresh start. No kids, just the two of them, chasing stability, routine, and, in Michael's words, a life worth coming home to. Ethan Walker lived next door. Early 40s, divorced, no kids, a former contractor turned part-time handyman. He had one of those rugged, lived-in faces that women either avoided or admired. Since his divorce, he'd kept to himself, mowed his lawn on Thursdays, walked his dog twice a day, and nodded politely to neighbors who didn't know his name. The first time Ethan met Claire, she was trimming roses in her garden. She wore a sundress. The air smelled like cut grass and lavender. "New to the neighborhood?" he asked from his side of the fence. She looked up, shielding her eyes from the sun. "You could say that. Just moved in last week." He offered a small smile. "I'm Ethan, next door. Let me know if you need help with anything around the house." Claire hesitated, then smiled back. "Thanks. I might take you up on that." She did. First it was a loose cabinet hinge in the kitchen. Then a flickering porch light. Then a squeaky basement door. Ethan never asked for payment. Claire offered iced tea, polite conversation, and eventually, glances that lingered a little too long. Michael often worked late. Crunch time, he called it. Sometimes Claire would sit on the porch alone, sipping wine, reading novels she never finished. Ethan began joining her from his own porch, their voices drifting softly across the narrow space between their homes. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Claire asked, "Why did your marriage end?" Ethan shrugged. "I stopped pretending everything was fine." She didn't like that. Claire nodded slowly, looking down at her glass. "I pretend a lot too." There was a pause, heavy and unspoken. That night, Claire left the porch light on longer than usual. Blank. Underscore. Blank. It started with a kiss. A stupid, reckless, passionate kiss on a rainy Thursday afternoon while Ethan was fixing a leaky pipe under the sink. She leaned down to hand him a towel. Their hands touched. Their eyes met. And then, They never spoke of it the next day. But it didn't stop. The affair took on a rhythm. Stolen hours during the day. Secret messages at night. Close calls that sent adrenaline surging through their veins. They told themselves it wasn't serious. It was just release. Just something to feel alive. But something about Claire was changing. She smiled more, laughed more, and Michael noticed. Blank. Underscore. Blank. One Friday evening, Michael came home early. He found Claire in the shower, water still running. Though she wasn't wet, her robe hung hastily, and there was a faint smell of aftershave in the hallway that wasn't his. He didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, he bought her flowers the next morning, asked her about her day, and began watching. That weekend, he invited Ethan over for barbecue. Ethan almost didn't come, but he did. Claire wore a white dress. Michael grilled steaks. They drank wine on the patio like old friends. But under the laughter and chatter was something jagged and sharp. Michael watched them. He wasn't stupid. Later that night, after Ethan left, Claire tried to go to bed early. Michael sat in the dark living room, turning a steak knife slowly in his hand, whispering to no one. I saw it, the way she looked at him. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Over the next few weeks, things grew tense. Claire began sleeping in the guest room, claiming insomnia. Michael's temper flared over trivial things. The air in the house was thick with everything unspoken. Then came the night Ethan tried to end it. He had started dreaming about Michael's eyes. The way they had drilled into him across the dinner table. He couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe right. One evening, he told Claire, "This has to stop." Claire didn't say a word. She walked out of his house without a sound. The next morning, she rang his doorbell at 6 a.m., mascara smeared, eyes puffy from crying. "I love you," she said simply. And everything Ethan had planned to do, call it off, confess, move away, burned away in that moment. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Meanwhile, Michael had hired a private investigator. A man named Trent. Within 2 days, he had photos. Claire sneaking across the backyard. Ethan's truck parked in the alley at odd hours. The investigator offered more, but Michael didn't want more. He stared at the photos alone in his car one night, gripping the wheel until his knuckles turned white. Then he looked up, through the windshield, at his reflection in the mirror, and whispered, "I'll handle this myself." Claire couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun slowly above her bed, making a soft ticking sound that somehow made the silence louder. She reached for her phone and stared at the screen. 1:03 a.m. No messages from Ethan. Not tonight. She rolled over and stared at the wall between her bedroom and Michael's study. He hadn't come to bed in weeks. He barely spoke, but he watched. Always watching, like a man holding his breath before the plunge. And Claire, she was sinking. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Ethan tried to distance himself. He told himself it was getting dangerous. Michael was no fool. The way he looked at Claire, the quiet tension around his every move, it was all wrong. There was no yelling, no accusations, just a calm, eerie acceptance, like the eye of a hurricane before it tears everything apart. One evening, Ethan found a note taped to his front door. No signature, no return address, just 4 words scrawled in neat, cold handwriting. "You deserve each other." He didn't tell Claire. Instead, he checked every lock in his house. Twice. Blank. Underscore. Blank. 3 days later, Michael invited Claire on a weekend getaway. To clear the air, he said. They drove to a cabin in the mountains. No neighbors, no cell service, just trees and wind and the quiet hum of something unspoken. On the second night, over dinner, Michael poured her a glass of wine and said, "I know." Claire froze. Michael smiled, calm, collected. "I know about Ethan. I know about the lies. I know everything." Claire's hand trembled. "Michael, But he raised a hand, silencing her. "I just want to ask you one question," he said, leaning forward. "Do you love him?" She didn't answer. That silence was louder than a scream. Michael nodded slowly. "That's all I needed to know." Blank. Underscore. Blank. They drove back Sunday morning. Michael didn't speak a word. Claire stared out the window the entire time. heart pounding, waiting for him to explode. But he didn't. When they got home, Michael disappeared into the garage. Claire called Ethan. I think he's planning something. She whispered. I don't know what, but it's not over. Ethan came over late that night. Through the back, just like always. But Claire wasn't the same. She cried in his arms, clung to him, begged him to run away with her. We can start over, she whispered. Somewhere far, somewhere quiet. Ethan said yes. He didn't know why. Maybe because deep down, he feared saying no more than anything else. Blank. Underscore. Blank. 2 days later, Michael's car crashed off the cliff. Brake failure. Witnesses said they saw him swerving erratically. No skid marks. No attempt to stop. The coroner called it an accident. The insurance company called it tragic. Claire called it closure. But Ethan called it something else. Blank. Underscore. Blank. It started with a dream. Michael's face, burned, hollow, eyes wide open, staring at him from the driver's seat. You let me die. The dream, Michael said. Ethan woke up screaming. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. He started seeing things, notes that weren't there, doors left ajar, a familiar cologne in the air. One night, he walked into his garage and found the same 4 words scratched into the mirror with a key. You deserve each other. That was the night he decided to leave. He met Claire in a coffee shop 2 towns over. I'm done, he told her. We need to stop. Claire stared at him, stunned. You promised. I didn't promise him I'd kill him. Ethan snapped. Claire flinched. People stared. He lowered his voice. I didn't touch the car. Did you? She blinked, then shook her head. No, she whispered. Did you? Ethan stared at her for a long time, and then stood up and walked out. Blank. Underscore. Blank. But someone else had touched the car. Someone had filed a police report under a fake name, an anonymous tip that Michael's brakes had been tampered with. Detective Lynn Voss took the case. She pulled the coroner's report. The photos. The vehicle. She found something odd. The brake line had indeed been cut, but not all the way. Just enough to weaken over time. And she found fingerprints in the garage. They didn't match Claire's. They didn't match Ethan's. They didn't match Michael's. They matched someone else. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Trent. The private investigator. The one Michael had hired. The one who had taken the photos. Who had access to the garage. Who had disappeared the day after the funeral. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Claire got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a flash drive inside. She plugged it into her laptop. There was a video file. It showed Michael sitting in the garage, staring into the camera. I know you're watching this, Claire, and if you are, I'm probably gone. He paused. I know about you and Ethan. I know everything, but here's what you don't know. He smiled, sad, broken. I don't blame you. Not really. I just wanted you to be happy. But now I realize, you never will be. Not with him. Not with anyone. Another pause. I hired a guy, Trent, to scare him. Just scare him. But Trent, he had other plans. Said he could make it clean. Said no one would ever know. Michael's eyes darkened. I tried to stop him. But maybe I didn't try hard enough. He looked away from the camera. Then back. Tell Ethan I'm sorry. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Claire watched the screen go black. Then she screamed. Claire didn't leave the house for 3 days. She shut all the blinds. Unplugged the landline. Turned off her phone. Every creak in the floorboards. Every gust of wind. Every shadow on the wall. It all made her jump. The flash drive stayed hidden beneath her mattress. Like some cursed artifact that might burn her if touched again. Michael's voice, tell Ethan I'm sorry, kept echoing in her head. But Ethan hadn't called. And Claire didn't know if that terrified her more, or less. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Detective Voss drove to Trent's last known address. The place was empty. Inside, stripped furniture, cold pizza boxes, a single Polaroid tacked to the fridge. Claire, smiling, with Michael, in front of their house. And scrawled in red marker across the bottom. Love kills slowly. Blank. underscore, blank. Ethan finally showed up at Claire's door on the 5th night. It was raining again, just like the night Michael died. Claire opened the door but didn't speak. She looked thinner, paler, as if guilt had replaced her bloodstream. I got your message, Ethan said. I didn't send one. He froze. Claire stepped back. Come in. Inside, the lights were dim. A candle flickered on the counter. Michael's favorite jazz record spun slowly in the background. I've been watching the video, she whispered. I saw it too. Neither of them sat down. I think we were played, Ethan said. Claire's eyes flicked up. By Michael? No. By Trent. Ethan paced, restless. Think about it. Michael hires this guy to spy. Trent sees an opportunity. Maybe he had debts. Maybe he hated rich people. I don't know. But he saw a way out. A way to make money, and famous in the process. But Michael admitted he let it happen. Ethan shook his head. He blamed himself. Claire. But he didn't kill himself. Someone else made sure those brakes failed. Someone who knew exactly how much pressure to apply. And now he's gone. Claire finally sat down, eyes unfocused. So what do we do? Ethan looked at her, then out the window. We find him. We finish this. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Trent, as it turned out, wasn't very good at hiding. Detective Voss traced his burner phone to a motel 2 towns over. But by the time she arrived, he was already gone. The manager said he'd checked out the night before. She left her card. Call me if he returns. Then she knocked on Ethan's door. He didn't answer. Neither did Claire. Inside Ethan's house, a kitchen light flickered on and off. And a note sat on the counter. We're going to find him. Don't stop us. Blank. Underscore. Blank. They didn't need to look far. Trent found them first. He showed up in Ethan's backyard. Soaked. Wild-eyed. Holding a pistol in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Claire saw him from the kitchen window and froze. Ethan walked out calmly. You running, Trent? Trent grinned. You think this ends with me? No. 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 It ends with you. Both of you. Claire joined them. Barefoot. The grass wet under her feet. Her voice was cold. What do you want? Trent's smile vanished. I want the truth to burn. I want you to feel what Michael felt. Betrayal. Panic. Fire. He took a step forward. The gun trembled. I didn't mean for it to go that far. He mumbled. I just wanted to scare him. I didn't know he'd drive that road. I didn't know. You cut his brakes, Ethan said. Trent nodded. I didn't mean to kill him. He whispered, voice cracking. Silence. Then a gunshot. But not from Trent. From behind him. Detective Voss. Gun raised. Trent collapsed to the ground, bleeding. Gasping. Eyes wide. Voss lowered her weapon. He was on my watch list. Illegal surveillance. Prior charges. I knew he'd surface. She looked at Claire. Then Ethan. You two better start talking. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The interrogation was long. Claire told everything. So did Ethan. The affair. The guilt. The flash drive. The plans. The video. The threats. Voss listened. Took notes. And then asked one question. Did either of you know Trent tampered with the car? No, Claire said. Not until after. Ethan added. She closed her notebook. Then you're not guilty. Just broken. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Weeks passed. The case made headlines. Deadly love triangle. Widow's lover exonerated in brake tampering death. Private investigator turned murderer. Claire moved out of Willow Creek. Sold the house. Vanished from the news. Ethan sold his truck. Left no forwarding address. Detective Voss closed the file. But she kept a copy of the video. Michael's face. His voice. The look of a man who saw everything, but forgave nothing. Claire moved to a small town in northern Vermont. Population just under 3,000. A place where nobody knew her name, her past, or the wreckage she carried in her bones. She rented a cottage by a frozen lake, surrounded by bare trees and silence. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort. The kind that listens. Blank. Underscore. Blank. At first, she tried to start over. She got a job at a local bookstore. She cut her hair. She stopped drinking wine. She told people her husband had died in a car crash, which was true, and that she had no family left, which was not. People called her kind, quiet, polite, but no one ever got too close. Because Claire Carter had mastered the art of the hollow smile. Blank. Underscore. Blank. At night, it was worse. She dreamed of fire, screeching tires, Michael's voice calling her name. And sometimes, Ethan's face too. She hadn't seen him since the investigation. He had promised to disappear. And he had. But the bond between them hadn't vanished. It twisted in her ribs like an unhealed wound. One she kept picking at. Blank. Underscore. Blank. She started seeing Michael in places he couldn't be. A man on the bus with his gait. A figure outside her window at 2 a.m. A voice on the radio whispering a familiar phrase. You deserve each other. Blank. Underscore. Blank. One night, she received a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph, black and white. Claire, sitting on a bench by the lake. Taken from a distance. And on the back. You can't outrun ghosts. Blank. Underscore. Blank. She called the police. The officer was kind, took the photo, asked if she had any enemies. No, she lied. The officer didn't press. But the fear grew like mold under her skin. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Then the phone rang. No caller ID. Just static. And then, a voice. I forgave you. Michael's voice. Or someone imitating him. She screamed. Threw the phone against the wall. And sobbed until dawn. Blank. Underscore. Blank. At work, customers noticed her trembling hands. The way she flinched when bells jingled at the door. Her manager gently suggested a break. So she stayed home. Alone. In silence. Until one morning, she saw muddy footprints on her porch. And a single rose. Wilting. Tied with a ribbon. Michael's favorite kind. Blank. Underscore. Blank. She tried to track Ethan. Called old numbers. Emailed old accounts. No reply. One message bounced back with 3 words. This account closed. Was he even alive? Did he send the rosé? Or was someone else toying with her? Blank. Underscore. Blank. Desperate, she returned to Willow Creek one foggy afternoon. The house was sold, but the garden still bloomed. And at the base of the rosebush they once planted together was another ribbon. Same color. Same knot. She dropped to her knees and screamed. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Detective Voss met her at a nearby diner. Claire looked thinner, haunted, like a shadow of a shadow. I need answers, Claire whispered. Voss sipped her coffee. There may be none. Claire gripped the mug with shaking hands. What if someone else was involved? What if Trent wasn't alone? Voss sighed. We followed every lead. He acted alone. The rest, guilt, trauma, memory. Then why'd I feel like I'm being hunted? Voss leaned forward. Maybe you are. Claire's eyes widened. By yourself. Blank. Underscore. Blank. That night, Claire stood at the lake's edge. Snow fell in slow, soundless flakes. She whispered into the wind, I'm sorry. And in the silence that followed, she heard it again. Michael's voice. So am I. 1 week after her visit to Willow Creek, Claire received a letter. It was hand-delivered, no stamp, no postmark, just slid under her door sometime between dusk and dawn. The envelope was old, yellowed, her name written in block letters on the front. Inside, a single-page letter, typed, blank, underscore, blank. If you're reading this, it means you haven't learned the truth yet. But you're close. Michael wasn't the only one watching. You thought he was fragile. That you could cheat on him, lie to him, and walk away with a clean conscience. But Michael knew you. He knew your pattern. Because this wasn't the first time you did it. Was it, Claire? Blank, underscore, blank. Claire dropped the letter. Her breath caught. There was something about the phrasing, something personal. Whoever wrote it knew more than the police. More than Ethan. More than even Michael. Possibly. Her hands trembled as she picked up the paper again and turned it over. There, on the back, was a number. Number 78459 Ravenhill Institute for Criminal Psychology. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Ravenhill. A psychiatric facility. Claire had never been. But she knew that number. It was tied to someone from her past, someone she hadn't thought of in years. Liam Barrett. Her ex-boyfriend from college. The first man she ever loved. The first man she ever cheated on. And the first man who had tried to kill her. Blank. Underscore. Blank. She thought he had died. After the trial, after the incident with the pills and the fire, he had vanished. Rumors said he was dead. Others said he had been locked up. But Ravenhill? She grabbed her coat. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The drive took 4 hours. The receptionist at Ravenhill stared at her blankly. We don't disclose patient identities. Claire slid the note across the counter. The woman stiffened, typed something into her system. And then called for the director. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Dr. Genevieve Harrow sat with Claire in a private room. He's not dangerous anymore, the doctor said. Not physically. But he wrote to me? Dr. Harrow hesitated. We never allow patients to send outside correspondence. But, we've had recent concerns. He's been requesting typewriters, obsessively following newspaper clippings about your husband's death. Claire's stomach turned. He knew Michael? Dr. Harrow folded her hands. Not directly, but we believe he had contact with someone else who did. Claire's voice cracked. Who? Dr. Harrow slid a file toward her. A photo paperclipped to the front. It showed Trent. Claire gasped. Your husband hired Trent. But what he didn't know was, Trent used to be a patient here. Under a different name. Claire's knees went weak. Michael didn't know, but Liam did. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The entire thing had been orchestrated. Liam, obsessed, vengeful, forgotten, had manipulated Trent from the inside. Fed him information, guided his actions, helped him target Claire and Michael. Michael's growing paranoia? Fueled. The idea to scare Ethan? Planted. The brake tampering? Pushed, just far enough. But not by one man. By two. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Claire returned home in a daze. She found another letter waiting. No envelope this time. Just a folded paper pinned to her front door with a knife. Blank. Underscore. Blank. You didn't kill Michael. You just lit the fuse. And I watched you burn. Blank. Underscore. Blank. That night, she finally broke. She tore through her closet. Her drawers. Every crevice of her small home, looking for listening devices. Cameras. Proof that someone was still in her life. Puppeteering her downfall. But there was nothing. Only silence. And that ticking fan above her bed. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Meanwhile, Detective Voss reopened the case in private. Something about Trent had never sat right. A burner phone had been recovered from the woods behind his last motel. Traced to a number that pinged once, at Ravenhill. A call lasting 6 minutes. To Liam Barrett. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Voss drove to Ravenhill. Spoke with Dr. Harrow. Pulled security footage from the past 6 months. And there, in grainy black and white, was Trent, sitting on a bench inside the grounds. Talking to Liam through a fence. Twice. 2 meetings. 2 plans. 1 goal. Blank. Underscore. Blank. She returned to Claire's house. Claire answered, visibly exhausted. You were right, Voss said. Someone else was behind it all. Claire didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply whispered. Then why am I still alive? Blank. Underscore. Blank. To that, Voss had no answer. Blank. Underscore. Blank. But Liam did. In his padded room at Ravenhill. He scribbled another letter. A guard intercepted it before it was mailed. It read, You want to know why I didn't kill you, Claire? Because death is merciful. But guilt? That's forever. Winter came early that year. The lake froze solid by November, and the snow piled high against Claire's windows. Her cottage had grown quieter somehow, as if the walls themselves had stopped trying to comfort her. She didn't go outside much anymore. Didn't speak unless spoken to. Didn't dream, because the dreams had bled into her waking life. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Each evening, she sat in her chair by the window. Same time. Same position. Wrapped in a gray shawl. Staring at the empty bench across the frozen lake. She never said a word. But her lips moved. As if she were whispering to someone. As if he were still there. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Sometimes, the mailman would pass by and glance in through the frosted glass. He swore he saw two people sitting inside once. The woman, and a man in a trench coat. Just for a moment. Then gone. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Claire's neighbors never saw her smile. But every Sunday, she lit a single candle by the front door. And placed a rose beside it. Michael's favorite kind. Blank. Underscore. Blank. In town, rumors spread. They said she had lost her mind. That she talked to ghosts. That she still believed Ethan would return. But no one ever saw him. And no one ever knew. That Claire had written one last letter. Locked in her drawer. Unsent. Unopened. Unfinished. Blank. Underscore. Blank. It read. To the man I loved. To the man I betrayed. To the man who watched me fall. I don't know if you're gone. But if you're not, please stop watching. Please let me forget. Please, let me die before I remember everything. Blank. Underscore. Blank. But the camera on her front porch blinked red. And recorded her every night. Still alive. Still remembering. Still waiting.